New details emerge about a potential Mike Tomlin trade. And another Steelers coach may be finding himself a new home in 2025 as well. Big Deek News. We got some additional insights from Adam Schefter regarding a Mike Tomlin trade yesterday. He dropped the initial report on Sunday NFL Countdown, said there might be some outside teams inquiring about a Tomlin trade, calling the Steelers, seeing what the interest could be. Well, he did a follow-up involving the topic on yesterday's Pat McAfee show.
I think you know and I know that this may be a long shot, but there was also reports of Mike Tomlin, teams reaching out potentially about trading for Mike Tomlin. As a Steelers fan forever, I think there's less than a 0% chance this happens, but I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, well, no, we talked about it on Sunday Countdown, raised the idea that a couple of teams were pondering it. And I think one team actually looked into it and uncovered the fact that his contract has a no trade clause in it. So even if Pittsburgh wanted to trade him, which we've gotten zero indication that it does, they couldn't do that without his permission because he's got a no trade clause in his contract. So that's there. Again, that doesn't stop teams, whether it's Mike Tomlin or Kevin O'Connell or Kyle Shanahan or whoever, to call up a team and say, would your organization have any interest in listening to conversations? And Pittsburgh doesn't seem to be interested. Minnesota doesn't seem to be interested. San Francisco doesn't seem interested. You can want anybody you want, but there has to be somebody that's willing to engage. And right now, currently, none of those teams are. Now, could something change in the offseason? Sure. But right now, none of them are.
Of course, right now, none of these teams are interested in trading their head coach. Well, two of the three are about to embark on their first playoff game. That would be stupid, trading your head coach or having information leak that you're interested in trading your head coach before the playoffs start. And then with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, there's no way they're letting him go, given that over the last, 6-7 years, he's led that team to 2 Super Bowls, multiple NFC championship games with an average quarterback, whether you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy. So, yeah, fair to say that none of these 3 teams are really interested in trading their head coach right now. Like, that'd be wild for at least the Vikings or the Steelers, trading your head coach days before your first playoff game, or information leaking that you're interested in trading your head coach, because that would be absolute calamity and chaos. I can see the Browns doing something like that. I can see the Browns being that stupid. But what else did we learn here? Couple things, nothing earth-shattering. One, a team across the league actually did reach out to the Steelers inquiring about a Tomlin trade. Now, Schefter initially said that teams would most likely call once the Steelers season ended, but someone was so bold out there to call in the middle of the season or right before the Steelers are heading into the playoffs. So I guess there's that. And obviously what was revealed is that the Steelers aren't interested in trading Tomlin right now. Of course we're not. I mean, I don't think we were ever going to be interested in trading Tomlin, but especially not now. And then I guess furthermore, we got to find out that Tomlin has a no-trade clause in his contract as well. So, again, nothing groundbreaking here, but probably it's just further evidence that Tomlin will be back for another season no matter what. Because even with said team reaching out, Steelers obviously not showing any interest back. And even if they did, Tomlin can just say, no, I'm good. I don't want to go there. So not only was there basically a 0% chance that Tomlin was going to be traded to begin with, but now with the added no trade clause barrier, it's like a negative 5% chance that it's happening.
Never say never, but never.
Only way it does is if Tomlin wants out, which I really doubt. I think he enjoys being the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
I got one of the best jobs in all of professional sport.
And I'll reiterate, I'm not calling for anything to happen one way or another. Like, multiple things can be true at this point. We can definitely admit that things are trending poorly. We just had another 10-7 season, lost 4 straight, offense is in disarray, and we haven't won a playoff game in the last, 7-8 years? It might even be 9 years at this point. But we still got a wild card game ahead of us that if we end up winning, that'll cure some of these ailments, at least for the time being. But while we're on the page of head coach movement, Steelers' current offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, is reportedly talking to teams or is about to talk to some teams around the league about their head coaching vacancies. Took interviews or is scheduled to take some interviews with the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears. So humor me here. I was thinking about this yesterday. I went down this rabbit hole thinking about coaching trees. Now, would an Arthur Smith, in this case, if he left and was just a one and done as the Steelers offensive coordinator, would that count as a Tomlin coaching tree success story? Or is it just that Arthur Smith, since he already became a head coach, no one else can claim him on their coaching tree? Like Brian Flores, I think it's a similar thing because he was here for a minute. He was here for a year as an assistant coach, but that was after he already became a head coach with the Dolphins. And now he's with the Vikings as their defensive coordinator. I feel like he's not part of the Tomlin coaching tree, right? He's not part of the Vikings coaching tree or the O'Connell coaching tree because he worked his way up. He got established in New England under Belichick. He's under the Bill Belichick tree. As in this case with Arthur Smith, he worked his way up in Tennessee. That's under the Malarkey/Vrabel coaching tree. Another example could be like Cliff Kingsbury with the Commanders right now. This is his first year as the Commanders offensive coordinator. No one would say if he left after this year, even after 2 seasons, that he's under the Dan Quinn coaching tree, right? No, he already got established. Now, he got established in the coaching ranks, became a head coach for the Cardinals. So, like, he's not learning anything about offense necessarily under Dan Quinn. I feel like Dan Quinn is just letting Cliff Kingsbury run the offense. So, like, is a coaching tree claim only a one-time deal? Like, it's only where the coach starts and where they, like, climb the ladder, work their way up the ranks? Or can a coach, say, after they fail as a head coach, or let's say they get fired as a head coach, let go as a head coach, can they be reborn on another coaching tree depending on the amount of time that they spend there? Because in this case, with Arthur Smith, you definitely can't just be one and done, and then you're on Tomlin's coaching tree. But what if he stayed for 4 or 5 years? Is that enough time? But does it matter if the head guy is defense-oriented? Say that, you know, the head guy's opposite sides of the ball. Like, his focus is on opposite side of the ball than what you are. Like, in this case, Tomlin is defense-oriented, and you're just coming in, Arthur Smith, to take over the offense. Because if Smith stayed 4 or 5 years, that would actually kind of be like Todd Haley. We almost already had that example here because he was, 4 or 5 years during the Killer B era. But I don't think anyone would say Todd Haley was under the Tomlin tree, right? Haley just came in to run the offense. He came up under Wisenhunt and over in, like, Arizona. So I'm thinking my theory is a coach on the come-up can be a part of multiple trees, kind of like Arthur Smith. Even though he was in one spot in Tennessee, it was with multiple coaches that he learned under. It was Malarkey, and then Mike Vrabel came in, and I think Smith was an assistant coach for a year with Vrabel, and then 2 years as the OC. So, like, that would count as multiple trees. Terrell Austin, if you look at his history, he's been a part of multiple coaching trees. And if, like, he ended up being a head coach after his tenure here with the Steelers, I feel like there's multiple trees that he's under. Like Harbaugh with the Ravens, he was secondary coach for. Caldwell back in the day with the Lions. Now with Tomlin, because I think all those things are influencing you on the way to becoming a head coach, right? But once you become a head coach and you go back, how does that work? Like, is there an example of an ex-head coach that got reestablished under a whole nother tree, was like re-influenced under a whole nother tree? Not like some of the examples I brought up with Flores and even Arthur Smith in this example, or a Kingsbury. You could even talk about, like, Dan Quinn. Speaking of Commanders and Dan Quinn, whenever he got fired from the Falcons. He went over to the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy and just ran the defense over with the Cowboys. Like, you wouldn't say Dan Quinn's a part of like Mike McCarthy's coaching tree. No, what was the sequence? What was the path to him becoming the head coach with the Falcons? That was like him being with the Seahawks, him being a defensive line coach under multiple guys like way back in the day. Like, I feel like he's under those coaching trees. Not Mike McCarthy. He's just going to the Cowboys and he's running the defense. Like, Mike McCarthy isn't influencing Dan Quinn in the defense or any guys that are running Sean Payton's defense, right? Even though Sean Payton's the head coach, like with Denver, Van Joseph, he's just running the defense. Like, whoever was influencing Van Joseph before Van Joseph became the head coach, like, that's that coaching tree, right? Is there an example not like that where a head coach got reestablished? The only guy I could maybe think of is Raheem Morris, because he came up with like the Buccaneers, John Gruden, like Kiffin became the head coach of the Buccaneers, and then it's been a minute. It's been like, I don't know how many years since he was the head coach, maybe more than a decade before he became a head coach again with the Falcons, and I think he was with the Falcons. I don't know why I'm talking about Dan Quinn so much, but he was with the Falcons under Dan Quinn. So is he a part of, feel like that's kind of like being a part of two coaching trees right there. I think that would be a decent example, because it's not after Raheem Morris lost the Buccaneers job, went to another team and just ran that defense. No, he went and worked under another defensive coordinator, defensive scheme, and then got back up in the head coaching. I think that would be the best example I can think of. I don't know if there's any other examples out there. I think it's a very intriguing question. Like I said, it just got me down the rabbit hole thinking of like, oh, if Arthur Smith gets a head coaching job, like, what is he under the Tomlin coaching tree? But I don't think it would count. I don't. Although Tomlin, compared to some of these other examples I'm bringing up, may have more influence on the opposite side of the ball than what his focus is, compared to like a McCarthy or a Sean Payton or whoever, because Tomlin has said as much, that he does have influence on the offense. So could you make the argument that Tomlin or Arthur Smith coming here with the Steelers, Tomlin gave him a fresh perspective on how to do things. Tomlin influenced some of Arthur Smith and his offensive philosophy? Maybe. I'm not sure, because I don't think that was the case with Todd Haley, right? But I could see that being the case with Arthur Smith, like Tomlin having some influence over Arthur Smith right now, because it is something that's being talked about, or has been talked about, not only when Matt Canada was here, but even now. Some are saying, like, in last game, the conservative approach, the play call and the offense was almost like passed down from Tomlin to Arthur Smith, and then Arthur Smith's got to come up with the scheme and everything from there. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, though. But I thought it was an interesting thing to think about. Let me know your thoughts, because I'm just trying to put all this together in my mind. Like, what should count as being a part of someone's coaching tree? What shouldn't count? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think the rules should be? Do you think I'm on the right page? What would you change about what I'm saying? But yeah. And then the fact, too, we do got some more information about Arthur Smith from Mark Caboli. So even though he is taking some interviews, seeing the landscape, seeing what's out there, Caboli thinks that it would have to be a really, really good offer, a really, really good scenario for Arthur Smith to leave, because Smith does really like it here in Pittsburgh, which I can see. I think he fits the Steelers' approach, run-heavy offense, ground and pound, physical. But going back to what we were saying after this Bengals game, is that the best thing for us going forward? Is that a good thing? It's a good thing when we're winning. When we were 10-3, no one was complaining about it. But the offense didn't seem as stale at that point. It wasn't like we were just run first. I thought we were pretty versatile. We were a balanced attack. It wasn't just about running the ball. When Russ became the quarterback, our passing game took an uptick. So like I don't know what's been going on over these last however many weeks. The offense has gotten stale. We haven't put up more than 17 points. Russ in the passing game hasn't been as good. It's just been weird, man. It's been weird. We've definitely reverted backwards. We've gone backwards with this thing. Because this wasn't what it was like. We looked like a modern era NFL offense in week 11, week 12. So, like, I don't know. But either way, yeah, Arthur Smith, he's probably going to be back next year. Probably going to be back. I believe the report from Kaboli here. Like, I think he's just doing his due diligence. I think he's just being smart about it, taking some interviews, looking at what opportunities are out there. I don't blame him. I don't think any of us would blame him. But that's it for today's show, today's edition of Big Deke News. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments about more information regarding a Mike Tomlin trade, or more information that we got regarding a Mike Tomlin trade from Schefter. And then I'm interested in your coaching tree philosophies here. I'm very interested in what the rules you guys think it should be. But stay chilling. Peace.